Isha here, and welcome to Human Connection only on Radio Zindagi. And October is the month of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and obviously Radio Zindagi has been actively trying to increase the awareness in this issue, especially since the cases have been on increase in this pandemic, which is so shocking to all of us. We have invited some great experts from the DA to Chief of Police to consult general on our show. And today, in the same effort, we have someone who has been an important voice, not only in domestic violence, but also in human trafficking. So please welcome SOMY Ali, the actor, founder, and president of No More Tears USA. I must tell you, she's looking absolutely ravishing. How are you doing, SOMY? Welcome to Radio Zindagi.
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm just excited that I got to wear Indian clothes today.
Yeah, you look absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Let me tell all our listeners about No More Tears. No More Tears' mission is to assist and empower victims of human trafficking and domestic violence. And since its inception, they have rescued more than 30,000 women, children, and men, as well as members of the LGBTQ community in 2011. And SOMY Ali was obviously honored with so much, and she was honored with the American Heritage Award from the American Immigration Council for her work with No More Tears, the Daily Point of Light Award, April 15, 2015, by President George H.W. Bush, and the National Domestic Violence Month proclamation by President Barack Obama for her work with No More Tears. So you know this organization is for everybody. So let's welcome her to the show. And let's ask her about her journey. Let's ask her more about No More Tears. So SOMY, we are so glad to have you. I was going through your website, your work. It is just, it's mind-blowing because to see your journey, you started with Pakistan. You came to US, then you went back to Mumbai, and then you're again in US here. The whole journey has been, we're going to talk about this in our show, but I'm going to start with, when you graduated from New York Film Academy, your early projects were, your films on abortion, domestic violence, and teenage suicide. So I was just wondering, what interested you in these subjects from so early on, whereas there are so many people who come out of Film Institute and they want to be, great directors or, cinematographers and so on and so forth. So what was it?
So I think because I grew up in Karachi, Pakistan, I was born in Pakistan. I grew up in a home where there was domestic violence. I personally myself was a victim of sexual abuse as a child from the age of 9, and from the age of 5 to 9 by the house help. And a lot of, my mom's friends would come over to our house in Karachi, and the auntie so-and-so, she has a black eye. Then another auntie, her arm is broken. And then, at the age of 5 or 6, I would ask my mom, what happened to auntie so-and-so? And then they would always say, oh, she fell down the stairs. She, and then I realized, like, that is universal. I fell down the stairs. That is universal for domestic violence. So at a very young age, as a child, of course, being physically and sexually abused myself, and then, of course, watching my mom's friends and them being physically abused, in some instances sexually abused or verbally abused. When children go through or witness these kind of atrocities against men, women, and children, these children, I deem them to be special children because they grow up very fast. They grow up faster than they should because they're exposed to things that they should not be exposed to. And I'm talking about myself and my younger brother. So when I moved to the United States at the age of 12, when I was 14, I was a victim of rape by a 17-year-old boy. And that, went to court, there was a hearing. So I experienced a lot of injustices as a child and then again as a teenager. When I moved to India, of course, I went to India, and everyone is aware I went to India to pursue a ridiculous crush. And I went to Bombay, and the relationship that I was in was very unhealthy, and there was a lot of abuse in that relationship, and that relationship lasted for 9 years. So all of this led to, of course, my leaving India, coming back to Florida. Now, keep in mind, I had dropped out in 9th grade because I left when I turned 16 in India.
Yeah.
So I had to start from scratch. I started my education when I came back to the United States. And then I got my degree in psychology. I went to the University of Miami to study journalism. Then I went to New York to go to the New York Film Academy. Then I did broadcasting. So I did, you know, I drowned myself in education, because I think when people suffer a lot of heartache and heartbreak, you can go two ways. You can go to the self-destructive, feeling sorry for yourself route, or you use that as fire, and you know, try to make something out of your life. And you don't accept defeat, and you don't want to have a loser's attitude. So I delved into education. It was very, very difficult, because one minute I'm on a movie set, next minute I'm signing up for classes in America.
Yeah.
So it was very difficult. It was very, very challenging. And I used to study 8 to 9 hours a day. I worked very hard in order to obtain my degrees. After I finished my schooling, I decided that, okay, there's so much, you know, abuse against children and women and men. And I felt like it is incumbent upon me to do something about it, particularly because I was a you know, victim, and then I became a survivor myself.
Yeah.
So that's when I initiated No More Tears in 2006.
Okay. You know, Somi, 9 years is a long, long time to maybe understand yourself and the other person. I can't even imagine what you've gone through in that 9 years. Was there any time when you thought, I should speak up? I should just, you know, let this be somewhere. I should take help, or anything? What was going in your mind?
So first of all, the problem was that when you're 16 years old and you have a crush on someone who is larger than life, and you know who I'm talking about, I don't have to take names.
Yep.
You're in awe of the person. And when you meet with them and you realize that this crush is actually going to turn into something real and solid and concrete, and it you know, took a shape of a relationship, it took a little bit for the awe of the star to dissipate.
Okay.
The time that it took for the awe to dissipate, during that time is when I began experiencing the abuse. And slowly, bit by bit, the awe of the star and the character that I had a crush on in the film started to demolish and disappear. And I realized that I was a little silly teenage girl who had a crush with a character in a film.
Yeah.
And this is not something new. A lot of people, a lot of kids have crushes on actual actors, and it's rare that they go from America to India and find them and begin dating them. So it was a horror movie. The whole relationship was a very, very horrific movie, in my opinion. And also in any relationship in life, whether it was that relationship or any other relationship, if 90% of the times are bad, then it's time to move on. Of course, it's not a good relationship. There was verbal abuse, there was physical abuse, there was, you know, infidelity taking place, there was sexual abuse, there was all sorts of abuse that took place. And it took me a long time to be able to vocalize this and be verbal about it, because I wasn't ready. And now in the past 2 years, I've been ready and I've been talking about it. So it was very, very difficult for me to seek help, because again, when you grow up in a household where there's domestic violence, when you grow up with no self-worth, with no self-esteem, when you grow up being abused, you somehow believe that this is a norm.
Yeah.
So the first time that I remember I was slapped when I was 17 in the relationship, for a minute, it took me a while to grasp what had happened. And I kept saying, did you just slap me? I remember I kept saying, did you just really slap me? Did this actually happen? So it takes a while to register in your brain, because again, you've been slapped before as a child, you've been abused before as a child, so it's a norm for you. And then you put that norm and you multiply it with the awe of the star. So that is a very bad combination. At least for me, it was a bad combination. And, you know, years went by, and you always hope that the person will change and they will become better. And this is a very, very normal domestic violence mindset of a victim that assumes that things will get better. And remember, I had dropped out of high school and I had given up everything to go marry this person. And my only goal was not to do films. My only goal was to go there and marry this person and have children, which sounds absolutely ludicrous in hindsight, and especially at this age. But as a child, as a teenager, you think it's magical that it's actually even happening. You think it's fate, it's serendipitous. You know, it's, how could this happen? It's surreal.
Yeah.
So it was very, very, very bad period. It was a very unhealthy time for me from 16 to 25. And I decided at 25 that, you know, it's just gotten so bad that I have to get out, because I was very unhealthy. I began fainting just from lack of eating. I was severely depressed. I had a very bad back problem. And of course, there was a lot of infidelity openly going on, and I had to get out. And in 1999, December, I decided to take that leap and come back to America.
Okay, wow, that's very for a 25-year-old who can, you know, see her entire career just starting, has already finished for you, and you are actually now starting another life, which is you're putting yourself into education, and you know, you came up with No More Tears. Do you think so? While you were talking also, I was thinking, like you said, it's a very common domestic violence approach. Everything's going to get better. Do you think that these are the things, you know, these are the things why women don't come out and don't speak, or even, you know, they just stay in the relationship for the sake of staying in the relationship? Especially, I'm talking about women who come to US on certain visas and cannot go anywhere. Do you think these are the reasons why, you know, they're very afraid and very fearful when they come to you? Because obviously you've rescued so many women till now.
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep my story aside, because my story was very different. I had a crush on an actor, and I didn't know if I couldn't come back to the United States because there was abuse taking place in America as well for me. So I didn't know, I had to decide which country do I stay in where there's, you know, which abuse do I pick? Where do I stay? I was in a very, very bad predicament. But now let's talk about the victims that No More Tears assists. So first of all, our society, as we approach 2021, the problem with our society is that we still have a stigma attached to domestic violence. And it's not just in the South Asian, Pakistani, Indian culture. It's in all over the United States. It's in the Russian culture and the Hispanic culture. People don't want to talk about domestic violence. And it is our duty to start being vocal about this. Okay, why can't a victim leave? A victim that No More Tears, let's say, rescues. When we say rescue, we're the second responders. The crime happens, we work with local police departments, we work with, you know, the Miami State Attorney's Office, Fort Lauderdale State Attorney's Office. We're listed with the National Human Trafficking Hotline. All the hospitals know about us, the emergency rooms. So there are so many aspects of why a victim can't leave. So let's say you're from India, and I'm giving you an example of an actual case.
Okay.
So a woman comes from India. She meets her husband on Shadi.com. And the guy is, you know, well off. He's doing well. The family thinks it's jackpot. They won the lottery for their daughter. She brought here. She's not allowed to wear jeans. She's not allowed to wear makeup. She's not allowed to go to school. She's not allowed to drive. She's not allowed to make friends. She had to beg her husband to let her go outside of the house and walk because she has a thyroid problem. So just basic things that you and I would take for granted on a daily basis. She was not allowed to do that. So we had to, you know, go in and rescue her with 14 police officers because this man had a gun. So it was, you know, and now this woman has friends. I bought her a bunch of jeans because she was not allowed to wear jeans. I bought her a bunch of makeup. She's about to start esthetician school. She used to do facials and eyebrows threading in India. She's from a small town in India. She's about to start school in January, and she has a beautiful apartment, and we decorated it with our donors' assistance. So what we do is when we rescue the victim, we put them in our safe house for 10 days. In the interim, they find a place, or we help them find an apartment. We have realtors that we work with. Heather is a friend of mine who's a realtor, and she's wonderful, and she volunteers her time, and she found this woman an apartment. And then we go in with decorators and donate it, and we give them a happy life, because just by giving them a place to stay is not enough. You have to assess the victim. If a victim is, let's say, from a small village in India, and she doesn't have an education, she can work in an Indian grocery store stocking inventory. She can be taught how to work the register. So every victim is different. And I say when they come to us, they're a victim of a crime. Once they're with us, they're a survivor of domestic violence. And the same goes for human trafficking. So women being brought from different countries all over the world, they have no social support system, no help, and they are reliant on the one person who's supposed to protect them, who is abusing them. So it's a very difficult predicament. Why can't they leave? They have no money. They don't know where they are geographically. They have no idea.
Yeah.
They have given birth to children in the United States. So the children are US citizens, but the husbands have told them, if I beat you and you call the cops, you will get deported, which is wrong, because the police officers have no right to question a woman or a man about their immigration status. But an innocent woman from India or Pakistan doesn't know that. So she doesn't have any money. She has no friends. She has no support system. Where will she go? How will she get out? That's why I take pride in what No More Tears does, and I take pride in our organization.
Wow, that's, yeah. Oh my God. So this is what I like. You guys just don't, rescue people. You rehabilitate them. Like, you literally will take them, make sure that their life is again on the right track, and so that they can go on and, live happily. Somi, tell me about men, because we usually talk about women, and obviously, yeah, the percentage, if you see all the records, it says that women violence, domestic violence is much higher than men. But what do you guys do about that when it comes to, domestic violence on men? Were there any cases which literally shocked you? If you want to share any.
Well, we've had, I would say since 14 years of my doing this work, we've had over about 50 male victims of human trafficking and domestic violence. Remember, we work with the LGBTQ community very closely.
Yeah.
Now, there's domestic violence in the LGBTQ community as well, whether it's a female couple or it's a male couple.
Yeah.
So there are men. It works both ways. And this is something that irks me to no end, that we always talk about women being abused and girls being abused. No, men are abused as well. And little boys are sold on the streets for sex. Little girls are sold on the streets for sex. So it's more women, but there are men, and we need to raise our voices for men as well.
Yeah.
So we have male victims that have been brought up with this instilled in them that they will never raise their hand on a woman. So we have victims that are male victims where the woman has physically assaulted them and they would not lift a finger on them. So, we've had some wonderful cases of male victims that are under our care, and we transform their lives, and we help them, give them exactly the same services as we do for a woman or for a young girl or a young boy.
Yeah. What are the biggest, or like some of the biggest challenges you face in this line of work? Because I'm sure this is a very challenging job, and it's just not as easy as you say that you just have to rescue. There are so many things involved. Tell me, what are the biggest challenge, and is there a fear amongst the victims to report cases of abuse? Have you come across any of such cases?
Absolutely. So I would say the biggest challenge in doing the work of domestic violence is victim blaming. A lot of people are unable to ascertain, unable to be educated enough or educate themselves. They need to take the initiative to educate themselves why a victim can't walk out, why a victim can't just leave. So the one aspect that really bothers me in our society is victim blaming. We need to stop victim blaming. We need to be able to, if not empathize, at least sympathize. There's a difference in empathizing and sympathizing. Empathize is when you have been in that situation, which I have, and I can empathize with the victim of domestic violence. Sympathize is when you understand why this person cannot leave and why she could not get away. So we as a society have to be able to sympathize and get educated why they can't leave. So that's been a huge struggle for No More Tears. Now, human trafficking, not to take away anything from human trafficking, it's the largest growing criminal enterprise in the world. It's bringing in $150 billion a year. It's even surpassing the drug industry because you can use cocaine once, but you can use a little girl and a boy again and again. Yeah. So it's a huge benefit for these traffickers and pimps, basically traffickers. But so human trafficking is being highlighted, which is excellent. It's happening right here in our own backyards. It's very prevalent. But again, I want to see domestic violence to be a norm as far as being talked about. I want to see public service announcements in India, in Pakistan, in Saudi Arabia, in the Middle East, and in the United States, in Europe. I want public service announcements on domestic violence on TV networks, on radio, any platform, social media. We need to be more involved in this issue. It's a very big problem, and we need to stop victim blaming and break the stigma. We're approaching 2021. Why even today people are not comfortable about talking about domestic violence? I don't understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said a very great point. Why don't we talk about it? So I want to ask you this very next question. Do you think we have good support structure or system set up in societies and community to help the victims of domestic violence? Because since it's been, you've been working in this for about 14 years, what has been your experience in this?
Well, okay. Look, no organization, no support structure is perfect. There are holes in everything, right? I commend the nonprofits that have shelters. I absolutely think those are great. But giving a bed, again, I reiterate, just giving a bed to a victim, a male or female, is not enough, because they are more likely, on an average, a victim of domestic violence goes back to her abuser 7 times. If you're going to give them a bed in a shelter, and in 30 days, you're going to tell them, after 30 days, you have to leave, guess where they're going to go?
Yeah.
Right back where they were. Because you need to give them tools. You need to, look, I'm not going to be the good husband for the victim. I'm going to be the victim advocate for the victim. I'm going to teach them how to fish. I'm not going to do things for them. I'm going to give them tough love. I'm going to give them compassion, but I'm going to make them independent. My job is to make them independent, not reliant on SOMY and have SOMY do everything for them. So just giving them a bed, in my opinion, is not enough. And again, I respect these shelters. These shelters are phenomenal. But we need more resources within the shelters. So what's different with No More Tears? No More Tears has never had a shelter to date. We have different means of safe housing, like I told you, where we house them for 10 days. Then we get them their own studio apartment, their efficiency, or their apartments. We decorate them. Now I'm filing a restraining order with the victim, male or female. Then I'm providing them an immigration attorney if they're undocumented. Majority of the abusers will not file for their paperwork, even though they're US citizens themselves. And the wife is eligible to become a US citizen based on the fact that she's married a US citizen, but they hold them on a leash. And that's the word I heard from an abuser. We hold them on a leash. That's why we don't file their paperwork. So we work with immigration attorneys. We work with divorce attorneys. We have gynecologists. Many of these victims have not been to an OBGYN. We have amazing dentists that offer pro bono work. We have an eye doctor. We have driving lessons. We have therapists in Hindi, Spanish, Creole, Urdu, whatever, Punjabi, whatever languages they need. So these are resources. It's like No More Tears is like a target to make a woman or a man or a child emotionally and financially independent. That's how I look at it.
Wow, absolutely amazing. I feel like there's a structure in place and you exactly know what to do and how to do it. And so there is, there's always a hope when we see such organization who can actually help these women or men, or of course LGBTQ community. Tell me, Somi, what is your message to women? Like, how should they empower themselves so they can prevent these crimes towards them? And how about men? Like, what is that one thing you always tell them?
Well, for women, I think it's important that what I've been trying to do for 14 years is that it took me a long time to find my voice, because my voice was lost because of my upbringing, and because I was told that girls' role is to get married, have children, cook and clean, and so on and so forth, right? I grew up in a Pakistani household. So it took me a long time to find my self-esteem, my confidence, and my voice. Similarly, I want women to know that there are resources out there. You do not have to put up with being abused. You do not have to put up with being financially abused, sexually abused, verbally abused, physically abused. There are resources out there. No More Tears is here to help you. And I urge all parents to teach their boys, their sons, that it is not okay to raise a hand on a woman. And again, if No More Tears is bringing a woman who has 4 children away from a domestic violence household, and one of them is a girl who's 5 years old, and she's pulled out of that cycle, she is going to learn that it's not okay for a woman to be hit. She has 3 brothers. I'm talking about a specific victim. The brothers are going to learn, because they're 1, 2, and 4. They're going to learn, because they're young enough where we can mold them and give them the correct guidance and teach them right from wrong. And they're going to grow up to know it's not okay for men to hit women. So you're not only rescuing the women, you're stopping from creating broken adults. And those are the children. They're not going to grow up and be broken adults. And they're going to know what is right from wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I so agree on that. That you have to start, like they say, charity begins at home. Right. This definitely should begin from the very beginning, no matter if it's a girl or a boy, especially for boys to understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's your goal for No More Tears? Like, how do you see this organization in future? I know you guys have been doing such amazing job, but where do you see, or what is that one thing which makes you, get up in the morning and you're like, okay, today I'm going to do this for No More Tears. Do you want to share anything?
I think, again, everything that I have endured in my lifetime as a child, as a teenager, in my early 20s, I try to take all of that and use that as fuel to do good. And again, it takes a village. We have volunteers. No one takes a salary at No More Tears. Everyone is a volunteer. And I have to emphasize that I'm just someone who gets up and does what she loves. But if it weren't for the volunteers, the interns, the service providers, above all, if it weren't for the donors, then this nonprofit would not be able to sustain. We need the funding, we need the donors, because that's how we're able to save lives. But I have decided, and I've told myself this repeatedly, the day I get up and I say, oh no, I don't want to go help someone, I'm tired, I don't feel like it, that's the day that I will shut down this nonprofit and retire, because that's when I think I'm burned out and I'm tired, and I wouldn't be able to do justice to other people that need help. But in 14 years, that day has not come, so I think it's going to go on for a little longer.
Yeah, of course, we hope it goes on forever. And and I hope there's one day also where you feel like, oh my God, there are like less than 10 cases or maybe no more cases of domestic violence or human trafficking. I think we all wait to see that day in this world for sure.
But that day will only come if our society changes their mindset. And again, and if you're going to say कि sexual abuse के बारे में बात नहीं करो, domestic violence के बारे में बात नहीं करो, और ये चलता है, ये नॉर्मल है, ये हर घर में होता है, हर खानदान में होता है, और कोई बात नहीं, एक दो थप्पड़ मारे चलता है, कोई बात नहीं। तो जब तक ये माइंडसेट लोगों का बदलेगा नहीं, तो हमारी सोसाइटी नहीं बदलेगी, and there will be no eradication of domestic violence or human trafficking, because it is up to the society to change this mindset and get educated and speak up and understand why victims can't just walk out and leave. There are so many elements to it. So I urge them to get educated. Unless our society changes, unless there's accountability. I don't know if you recently heard about the rape of a Dalit girl in India who was 19 and what they did to her, and she died in 14 days.
Yeah, horrifying.
This happened in Delhi also.
Yeah.
With the girl was raped in the bus. This happened in Pakistan. A little girl named Zainab was 5 years old or 6 years old. She was raped and strangled to death. Yeah. Again, that part of our world where you and I come from, that part, unless there's accountability, consequences, and if bribery and corruption are going to prevail, there will be no changes when it comes to raping of young girls or boys, because boys get raped too. Yeah. So unless there's consequences, and if the political system is corrupt, whether it is in Pakistan or in India, if the politicians are corrupt, it starts at the top and it goes all the way to the bottom. Unless and until the politicians are corrupt, are stopped from their corruption, this will sustain, and there will be crimes against women, men, and children. Yeah. So the corruption needs to be eradicated. Someone has to, not everyone can be bad. There have to be some honest people, and those honest, good people need to be at the top, not the corrupt people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I hear you, I feel like, I know why this organization has been running for so long. You're so passionate about this. I want to end this interview on a lighter mode, sure. Just by asking you, what are you up to right now, as in your personal space? Do you watch a lot of Bollywood movies? What's going on in that part?
So I've been very out of touch with Bollywood movies for the past 20 years, and it's not intentional. It's just I've been so busy with No More Tears. I work Saturdays and Sundays as well. I'm always answering the crisis calls, but I will now and then get a message from one of my friends in India, and they'll say, oh, this is a total SOMY movie. So, someone recommended like Lunchbox, which was such a good movie. I've seen it 5 times. I'm so sad that we lost Irfan, but that was such a good movie. Then I saw Pink with Amit Ji. I'm a huge fan of Amit Ji. That's such a good movie. And then sometimes when I'm feeling nostalgic, I will watch, Qurbani or Amar Akbar Anthony, or things we grew up in Pakistan, movies like that. But the current movies, it's hard to kind of watch them with the family. How many times can you say, okay, I'm going to go get water for you? How many times can you go do that? I remember as a kid, we always, anytime there was a scene, but back in the day when we were children, they used to show 2 roses getting together.
Yeah.
So remember those scenes? And now it's like actual people. So it's hard to watch the new movies with family members, but I reminisce, and I my favorite people growing up, of course, were my mom was a huge fan of Rajesh Khanna and Amitabh Bachchan, and I absolutely adore Rekha and Zeenat Aman and Praveen Bobby. So when I feel nostalgic, I watch their movies. I must have watched Umrao Jan like 100 times. I love that movie. Okay. So those are the films that I still enjoy. I felt like that era, the 70s, 80s, 60s, I think even films like Anand with Rajesh Khanna, I think all of these movies had messages. They had substance, they had content, and there was a film like Namak Haram, where it's Amit Ji and Rajesh Khanna, like the friendship and the dynamic, and there's a message in those movies. Mm-hmm. So I miss those kind of films. But then, of course, there's movies like Pink, which is fantastic. There's movies like The Lunchbox, which is great. So I look forward to those kind of films.
Oh, SOMY movies. It's fun.
Absolutely.
All right. So wishing you all the very, very best for No More Tears. And I hope and I wish that, you know, people start raising more voice, more awareness, and, you know, stand up for themselves, because organization like No More Tears can definitely help you guys out. Go to their web page, which is nomoretears.org. You will literally find out everything on the page.
Correct you. It's nomoretearsusa.org.
Okay, perfect.
USA.org.
All right, so nomoretearsusa.org. Just go to this page and you will find out pretty much everything you need to know about the organization, what they do, how many people they've rescued, helped, and make them settled and let them live a better life. Cannot thank you enough, Somi, for giving us time and coming to Radio Zindagi and, you know, talking to us and being so candid about everything. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for giving me the platform, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to wear Indian clothes.
Anytime. Thank you so much. You have a great day, and you know, you guys keep watching and listening to obviously Radio Zindagi. You can go to their page. You can find all the information on the page as well. Once again, nomoretearsusa.org. Keep listening. Jira.